Welcome to Grit, the Real Estate Growth Mindset podcast, hosted by Brian Charlesworth, founder of Sisu. Sisu provides growth automation software for real estate. You'll hear stories from real estate thought and technology leaders, team owners, and brokers on how they grew their business in a rapidly changing industry. You'll learn how to transform your brokerage and teams into a high-performing and analytics-driven business so you have a new, durable, competitive advantage against disruption in your market. So let's get right into it.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to the Grit Podcast. I'm Brian Charlesworth, founder of Sisu and your host. And today I'm here with Tristan Ahumada. He is the team owner of Tristan and Associates. He's the founder and CEO of Lab Code Agents, which I'm sure all of you know what that is. Tristan is also a national speaker. Google him, and I think you get like 2.5 million results. So you don't get that when you Google my name. So anyway, Tristan, what else can you tell us about you? And thank you for joining us on the show today, and Happy New Year to you as well.
Thanks, man. I'm just excited to be here. Thanks for having me. A little bit more about me. I've been in real estate for 15 years. I was born and raised in Southern California. And I enjoy reading, spending time with my family. And I loved playing video games as a kid a lot. But how about you?
Do you still play?
Dude, I think here's a story. The last time I played fully, like I immersed myself, was when my daughter was born. I think she was 6 months old. I strapped her onto a baby carrier and I went on to play Xbox Live, and I played Halo 2 for, I think it was like 2 hours straight. My wife took a picture of me, showed it to me the next day, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm a dad now, so I have to like not do this. That was the last time I fully played.
So how old are your kids now?
She is, oldest one is 13 and youngest one is 8.
Okay, so 13 and 8, they're both playing, right? Are they both playing Fortnite today?
They didn't really get into Fortnite. We got into Minecraft, so that's what we play.
Okay.
So we're probably playing Minecraft two out of 3 times. We play video games and then Pokemon. We play a lot of board games together, and we read a lot together. So it's just fun. It's a little diverse.
So now that your kids are growing up, you get to jump back into some
It took a long time.
As long as you're including the kids, right?
Yeah. Then it's okay.
Yeah. I got it. I get that. Cool. Well, I really would love to focus in today on not just building a team, but how can you diversify your life and your business as a team owner and really take your life to the next level, right? I mean, building a team is one thing, and I talk to people all the time who are focused on getting to 100 million, and then they get to 100 million, and they're like, okay, what's that next step? How do I go to that next level? I talked to a lot of people today that are really focused on driving the ancillary revenues, building their own mortgage and title companies. Yeah. But you've done something really unique, and I'd love to dive in and learn more about that, and how you got Lab Code Agents to over 100,000 members. And you've really become a national speaker. I mean, my understanding is people have you come speak to them all over the world. So why don't you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so back in 2013, 2012 to 2013, I was using a Realtor.com product, a Co-Bro Connections, a zip code product that everybody has now. And I picked that up early on because my last name starts with an A, and they called our area first because Realtor.com is in the same building that my real estate office is in. So I happen to be one of the first, still today, man, in Westlake Village. Crazy, right? The chances. And so they started this whole new product that they had in my area. Just before they hit anywhere else, they hit our area first. So, and last name is A, they called me up, and it sounded like something that I was already doing with Craigslist. So I said, yeah, sign me up. I want the whole county. And so I picked it up, and then I quickly realized that I was going to get influxed with a large amount of leads. And I needed the I needed the systems and the process to be able to handle this many good or better quality leads than I was used to from Craigslist. So then I quickly developed the process, the systems, and then they took notice. And then one thing happened, and then they said, "Hey, Tristan, can you come over?" And when they discovered that we were next door neighbors, "Can you come over and do a quick video shoot and explain to us your process? And we're going to send it out nationwide as part of our email so people understand how to better set up their processes." And I said, "Sure, no problem." I went over, did a quick 30-minute spiel on my processes, the tech that I used for higher conversion. And they loved it. They sent it over to their executives, and their executives said, "Holy crap, this is awesome." They ended up purchasing the company that I mentioned, by the way. And then
congratulations.
I got a t-shirt out of it. So, and they said, "Who is this guy? Ask him if he's okay to come and speak for us at NAR in San Francisco." And so they asked me, and I said, "Yeah, I just have one condition. Will you also pay for my daughter and son and my wife to go with me?" And they said, "Yeah, we'll book them hotels. We'll have them fly out there, everything." I said, "Okay, I'm in." And that was my very first time speaking to 20,000 people at one time. I was like, "Holy crap," right?
Yeah.
And so when I was there, I met a lot.
What did you speak about, by the way? Just you told that experience?
It was all about conversion, the tech and tools that I use, the processes, the systems. Why our conversion rate was much higher at the time than anybody else.
Okay.
Because nobody understood what it was, what it is. Now everybody understands how Zillow works, right? It's the same thing. But before, it didn't work the same way. And so a lot of the processes that you see now, a lot of the scripts were just barely being tested out. And so since we were doing this back from the SEO days, right, we had it down. We just never applied it to this because this was new. And so we just found the right tech and the right processes and then spread that. And that was the first time my family traveled with me, and then it stuck. So everywhere we go, like 90% of the time I fly my whole family. So they get to go all over the nation with me. The schools hate me, by the way, but my family.
They're all like, you take your kids out so much, we should put you in jail for this.
Dude, totally. That's exactly the letters I get.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And so from that one time, we were going on an airplane from Burbank, California to San Francisco. And I look over at my wife and I say, "Hey, this is cool. This is really exciting for me. It's our first time for this. But I don't think that this is, I don't even know if this is going to be something that's going to be, it's going to happen again, or how long this is going to last. But they're already planning on doing webinars. And I think that we should do something, right? I just don't know what, right?" So I planted that seed, and then a few months later, early 2014, I'm saying, "Hey, maybe we should do a blog. Everybody's got this cool blog." Like, I don't know if you remember, Brian, but back in like 08, 09, or 2010, I don't remember, it was Tech Savvy Agent with Steve Passanelli and Chris Smith. That was like the only exposure we had to what's next in our industry, tech-wise and so forth. But I thought, why not do something like that? And my wife's like, "You should start a Facebook group. There's this cool new thing that Facebook came up with. They're groups." And I thought, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. And so later on that year, I started a Facebook group, right? And with the one sole purpose of helping agents convert at a higher rate from online leads. That was the only thing. And then from there, it caught on. Realtor.com helped me initially to grow it. And then I brought in great people. I got to meet Nick Baldwin, who became my business partner for this. We founded this together after. And then it just grew from there. We just kept on hitting milestones. Inman got a hold of us, then Commissions Inc., then Facebook. When Facebook got a hold of us, that was a whole different world that opened us up to all of Facebook. And then they loved what we were doing, especially because it was with Facebook, right? And then we started promoting Facebook lead ads. And then now we have a strong partnership with them. But it all started from something that I was doing in such a small arena, right? Online lead conversion. I
In
was
real
really,
estate.
really good at it. And then it exploded into everything that you see now. But so as real estate agents, we have such an amazing opportunity to be able to do so many different things, not just, and there's two things to this, not just the ancillary things that people are jumping into, because everybody's jumping into this, right? There were other opportunities. I think the one that we miss the most is becoming really, really becoming that, what I like to call is a niche celebrity in your areas, right? With the ability that we have to be able to do that with social media
Mm-hmm.
at a local level, at a hyper local level, you can go into this area so deep that you can go into your Trader Joe's or Albertsons and people will recognize you, right?
Yep.
That's really what you want to do, but you want to start off by helping the community as much as you can first. And I don't think that's where real estate agents are starting. You ask them, why are you starting a team, right? Well, I want to reach 100 million, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Or
You know,
why are you doing this ancillary thing? Well, I need to meet my financial goal of this, right? So,
I was actually reading on Real Trends today, and it was talking about how so much of the new real estate community happens to be these really young people who have just graduated from college, maybe didn't even go to college. But you know, if I look at my kids who are still in junior high and elementary school, and look at what they all want to be when they grow up, what they all want to be when they grow up is a celebrity. And when I say celebrity, right, that's an Insta celebrity, Insta famous,
that's
right?
true. Yeah.
Right? Everyone wants to be Insta famous. It used to be we wanted to be an NBA player or an NFL player. Now we just want to be Insta famous.
Yes.
So, I mean, to your point, as a real estate agent, and with so many of the new agents being so young,
Yeah.
there's a great opportunity to do that. So what advice would you give to somebody on how to go about creating that? My wife runs a team here in Utah. I know a lot of her agents are young and just graduated from college, and they are looking for ways to, you know, really build their business through social media, right? I mean, the days of calling expireds, those
Mhm.
are still here for some agents.
Yeah.
But a lot of the new agents, they are not about that, right? They want to build their business through social media. So what advice would you have for those particular agents?
Yeah, that's a really good question, man. I do have some advice for those agents that are looking to do that. And that's two things. Number one, start with your strength, right? Look at how I did it and look at other people have done it. They went all in on what they were really, 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 really great at. And along the way, I picked up other things, right? Other talents that I wasn't even aware of. But when you go all in and you give back on something that's based on your strength, what happens is you start telling stories that people can relate with because you're telling things that are happening to you based on your experience, based on your strengths. What I hate seeing is I hate seeing agents trying to do exactly what they're being told to do by certain coaches, not all coaches, but certain coaches, in the sense where they fit into this new arena. They go in, they pay $1,000 or 500 or 2,000, whatever, and they say, "Hey, look, this is what you're supposed to do to succeed in real estate. You're supposed to cold call," which I love cold calling, by the way, but I'm just giving it as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Cold call, circle prospect, just list, just sold, expireds, FISBOs, and you're supposed to door knock and do open houses, and don't forget about your past clients and your sphere and all this other stuff. None of that starts with, hey, take a step back. What are you really, really, really great at, right? Forget the real estate business. What are you great at naturally in life? And then you try to match that up with, well, how does that match up with real estate? Like, for instance, I came in from a background in telemarketing. I was a telemarketer and I sold ink cartridges and windows. And I was so good at doing it on the phone that, because they listen into everything that you're saying, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
on a recorded line every time. And so I was like 16, 17, 18. And then one of them was recorded. I was doing it in a Scottish accent because I was so tired I was like, this is so boring. I'm just going to go Scottish, right? So I did Scottish accent. Maybe 10, 15 minutes later after I hung up, I get a call from my superior and they call me in and I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to be fired, right? Because you never know when they're listening. So I got sat in and they're like, we heard that talk. It was a little old lady I was talking to about Windows. And so we heard that whole conversation and you did it in a Scottish accent, but that's not your natural voice. And they said, do you think you could go door knocking and sell this stuff as well? And so I was promoted to the field, right?
So you went from inside sales to outside sales.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was like, this is
Scottish accent.
This is cool. And so I thought, well, when I went into real estate, I had no idea that it was going to be all of these skills that I learned were going to be applied here. So I thought, well, what am I great at already? I'm really good on the phone from years and years of practice. And I'm really good in person door knocking. So that's the first thing that I did. I actually went door knocking. And everybody that I knew, I told them about real estate. And that's where I got my business the first 6 months. And so I look at the same thing and I tell all these new agents, hey, it's cool that you want to build a team on your first week as a real estate agent and you want to build a team of 20, but that's not the way it works, right? You've got to understand the business first. And first, you have to go all in on what your strengths are. And so as a team now, when I run a team, we've hit 100 million before, right? And sometimes we get there, sometimes we don't. And so when I bring in team members, the first thing I do is I want to know what their strengths are. I want to know their background. I want to know what they've done in the past, what jobs they've had. If they're fresh out of college, well, what are their strengths? And then I pair it up and say, well, look, based on from what you're telling me, you're going to be great at this. Let's test this out. But also learn these other processes and systems as well, just in case you actually enjoy them. And then we gravitate to where they're great at. And so when people tell me, well, I want to go all in on social and be an influencer, I want to do great on Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook. Whenever you do that, people will gravitate to your authenticity if you know what you're talking about. And the only time you will know what you're talking about is if you go with your strengths. And a lot of people don't do that. There's somebody else when the camera turns on, there's somebody else, right? They're trying to regurgitate what they learned at this seminar or this webinar or what their coach told them to do. And that's the challenge because I can't relate with somebody like that. And neither can the population, right?
Right.
So it starts with that whole process.
Great. That's great advice. Thank you for sharing that. Let's jump back over to Lab Coat Agents for a minute. Tell me, you started out as wanting to help agents with their conversion. What is really the purpose of Lab Coat Agents today for those who may not be on there?
Great idea. So Lab Coat Agents is the largest community of most engaged agents in the world on any social media platform. And out of the 108,000 agents that we have, 109,000, 100,000 of those engage every 28 days, which is insanity. That means we have 400,000 plus posts, comments, likes every 28 days. So it keeps us super busy. Now, the initial idea behind it, Brian, was to help agents create systems and processes out of their business, specifically for growth, right? And I started initially with showing people how to convert online leads. There's a process to it. There's an approach, right? And that's what I was teaching. And then slowly everybody started seeing that it was a place where they could give back and learn. And then that started spreading. And then people started saying, well, that's awesome, Tristan, but let me show you how I do open houses. And I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And then like, hey, well, let me show you how to do this. And then everybody started giving and showing. And then it became more of a community to help agents grow through a better understanding of what's working now in real estate as a whole. So it doesn't just mean that we're teaching how to convert better online leads now. It means, hey, look, this is working over here. This is working over here. And guess what? This isn't working. And these are the challenges that I'm having. I need some advice. So it's a combination of all those things right now. It's just a big community that helps each other, which is nice.
I've only really been in the real estate community. I grew up with a dad who was in real estate, but I've really only been in it for the last 5 years. About 5 years ago, I jumped in to help my wife grow her team. And what I've noticed about this industry, and my favorite thing about the industry, is that everybody, and we go to a lot of masterminds, and everybody's always willing to share everything, right? Everyone's willing to help. I mean, you can go in there like a sponge and soak anything you want up from anybody in this industry because everyone's willing to share.
Yeah.
And then it's about execution, right? And it sounds like you were maybe one of the early platforms that really promoted that. Let's share and teach each other how to build this business.
Yeah, very true. I was early, so early that I know it doesn't seem like it's that long ago, but believe it or not, I was getting hate texts and hate messages saying, "Why are you telling other people how to succeed for free?" And I was like, this is crazy. I can't even believe these messages are coming in. This is stupid. That means I'm doing something right.
Right, exactly.
And, people didn't understand the concept, really. I think it really, Brian, you start really seeing it develop more into people understanding what it truly is and what it's capable of only over the last 2 years. And I think with our culture as not just real estate agents, but just our culture here in the United States, when people started understanding what influencers were truly now, right? They started accepting what we were or what we are now, because we would get a lot of hate from people that were in the business for 20, 30 years, that were no longer doing real estate, but were still influential in some ways. And they didn't understand why we did something like this and people were listening, right? So we still get a lot of hate, but not as much as before.
Yeah, I mean, with the pace of technology changing, I know Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, but in the last, every 5 years, it's like multiplied. There's more change than there were the 100 years before that, right? So.
Yeah, and that reminds me of something I was reading, Moore's Law, right? You can apply that to this too with technology. It just compounds. And by the end, who the heck knows where we're heading, dude? It's just going so fast.
Yeah, it is. The speeds at which everything is changing today are just incredible. It's an exciting time to be a part of it. And that's why I wanted people to be able to hear from you today.
Well, I think there's no limit to what we can do as real estate agents now. And I think as real estate agents, from being able to talk to, and you know this probably better than most people, because you're in the tech world. So not just real estate, you've been in other tech industries, right? Verticals.
Right.
And so you can see now that you're in the real estate world, from what I've seen, and tell me what you think. Real estate agents seem to understand tech a little bit more than most other sales industries. They seem to adopt it a little quicker.
I think that's absolutely true today, but I think the real estate agent that you were talking about, who were the ones attacking you, that generation of agent, not so much, right? They were slow to adopt. And now you have this younger generation coming in who's all about technology and adoption and marketing and all the things you need to do to really effectively grow a business.
Yeah, man, I agree. I'm still waiting to see, and we're seeing a glimpse of it now, but I'm waiting to see that those few agents, maybe like a handful, 5 to 10 of them, that absolutely blow up on social media, where they have millions and millions of followers, because they're truly doing this right, where they're giving back authentically. They're telling stories along the way. Imagine a Gary Vee, but all real estate, right?
Right.
That will happen. I just don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah, there are thousands of them out there right now who want to be that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of them being, I think you said it best, authentic, right?
Yeah.
That's what's going to get them there. Tell us about your Lab Coat Agents podcast. A lot of people may know about your website, but not your podcast. And I'd like to get them listening to that as well.
Thanks, Brian. It's a little more secret. Thank you. The Lab Coat Agents podcast. It's mainly, our host is mainly Jeff Fitzer. He's out of St. Louis. And then Nick and myself pop in probably every 4 podcasts. But we interview anywhere between top agents and influencers, authors. That's just a different mix of people that can bring you as an agent growth, whether it's in your business, as a person individually, or in whatever you want to grow. We try to mix it up a little bit.
Cool. But it sounds like it's all real estate focused. Is that right?
For the most part, it is. I'd say 90% of it is.
Okay,
right.
Great. So if you had to give just one piece of advice to anybody in this industry wanting to go from being an agent to really taking things to the next level, I know we talked a lot about that already, but what would that be other than maybe the authenticity?
I would want to really take a step back and have them create a blueprint for what it is that they want to do. A lot of the times we're told as individuals growing up in sales, hey, I want you to write down all of your goals, and I want you to visualize them, and then all this stuff, and that's where it ends, right? What I'd like to see agents do is treat this industry that they're in, that we're in, more like a business. And a lot of us don't know how to do that. We come from either having a job or something that has nothing to do with being an entrepreneur, right? Where you have to run a business, and we're thrown into this and we don't know what to do. We're just good at talking to people, right? And then now we have to pay our taxes. What is this? And then now we have to kind of build stuff that holds a business together. So I would love for people to really take each one of their goals, right? Identify which one of those are priorities, and don't just say, hey, look, these are all my goals financially or for my business. I need to see goals that make you a better human being. I need to see goals that make those around you better, your family, your children, your team members. I need to see goals that have to do with your health, your mind, your emotions. That choose your priorities, then each one, I need you to break it down into a blueprint. Like, what are the actions that you're going to take for each one, and then fit them into a calendar so that it's done weekly, monthly, however often you look at your calendar. But that's the challenge there. There's a big disconnection, Brian, between your goals and then not really making them into actionable steps, so they never end up happening.
Right.
And like I get to see blueprints all the time. I say, hey, let me send you my business plan. And I'm like, okay, send it to me. And it's just a whole bunch of lines that just say, hey, I want to do this. And this year, this is my goal. There's no substance to it. Nobody's taking the time to break it down and say, well, these are the steps. And this step is going to fit on Monday and Tuesday. The next step is on Wednesday and Thursday. And this is a block time that I have to do these things. And they're not running it like a business.
Yeah, great advice. So first, taking those goals and really turning them into actions and doing a blueprint. Love that. And then something else I love what you said is really balance. It's about life balance, right? Most of us set goals and it's all around business.
Yeah.
It's not around personal relationships, spirituality, right? Those health, right? So all those types of things. So great advice. Thanks for sharing that. Do you have a favorite book or something that's helped you in this industry that you feel everyone should read?
Yeah, actually I do. One thing that really got me more committed to, and look, favorite books are, everybody's got a different favorite book because you happen to read one at the right time, it affects you differently, right? So I just happened to read Extreme Ownership at the right time by Jocko Willink. And that, I can tell you, that book changed the way that I saw my life personally. I took, even though I already knew, hey, look, it's your life, you're responsible for it, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I just read it at the right time and it affected me deeply. And I looked within and I said, look, I need to change a lot of things in my life, starting with my health. Right? If I want to live a longer life and I want to be okay when I'm 80 and I want to be able to lift a 5-pound grocery bag up the stairs, I need to start right now.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was the book that did it for me, that I can tell you started to begin to change my life. But there are other books that I recommend that are just as good. Start with Why by Simon Sinek.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of agents or business people don't know what they don't know or what they really stand for, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't know what you stand for, you don't really know why you're in this business or what you're doing. So those are two books I highly recommend. A couple of books I'm reading right now. Stillness is the Key, that just came out a few months back. Stillness is the Key. It's a short book. It has to do with really being more present in the things that you're doing. Like for instance, right now I could be texting like two different people at the same time, but I'm focused on you, right?
Yeah, right.
Being present and taking notes. So that's one book that I love, because we're very distracted. And I just finished Indistractable by Nir Eyal, who you may have read Hooked. If you haven't, Hooked was really popular in Silicon Valley 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he came up with a second book this year, 2019, called Indistractable. And he tells a story in that one that was like, oh, that's such a good story. Really quick. It's at the very beginning of the book. He says, I was with my kid, my son, younger son. And I asked him, we were playing a little game. He said, I asked him, so if you were a superhero, what would your superpower be? Right. And the kid answered. And so the kid answered him and then asked his dad, it's like, so Dad, if you were a superhero, what would your superpower be? And he says, I don't remember having the conversation with him. I don't remember him answering. I was so caught up with my phone, I wasn't present.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I still don't remember. And I'm like, I mean, we've all been there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Even if we don't do it as much now, we've all been there. And so it's just a really good reminder, especially coming from Nir Eyal, who wrote Hooked. And if you haven't read Hooked, that's an amazing book. But it puts things in perspective for you, where we're all so driven by financial accomplishments that sometimes we're forgetting that we influence those around us in how they can be better as people. And we're setting examples on how they're going to live their lives or how life works. And sometimes we forget that, right? So it just brings you back to earth.
Yeah, I love it. I've read some of those, but I have the rest of them on my reading list. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I'm a big reader. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. How do people get a hold of you, Tristan, if they want to follow you or reach you?
Yeah, they can.
What's the best way?
Easiest way is to text me. My cell phone number, I get a few texts a day, 805-559-3364. I usually answer my text. Or you can email me. I always answer my email as well. It's tristan@labcodeagents.com. And if you want to follow me, you could just follow my business page, which I just started. It's I am Tristan Ahumada. And I got about 2,000 followers. I'm just started to grow it. So let's see how that goes.
And that page is on what platform?
That one's on Facebook. You can also find it on Instagram. I have a few more followers on Instagram than I do on Facebook, but either one, it's I am Tristan Ahumada.
Okay. All right, Tristan. Well, it's a pleasure and an honor having you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us, and looking forward to seeing your progress as things move forward in the coming years in real estate.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So there you have it. Thank you for joining us on our podcast. If you have an interest in a free 7-day trial of Sisu, make sure that you use the coupon GRIT, that's GRIT, to waive all your setup fees and receive a 10% discount on your subscription. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and want to subscribe, search GRIT, the Real Estate Growth Mindset Podcast, on iTunes. And with that, we'll catch you next time. Take care.